Hi there, and welcome to episode 44 of JagaVision. 44 weeks in a row, pretty excited. Well, actually, that's not true. There's been twice where we took a break, but still pretty excited. This is close to a year in since we started the show, so it might even already be there. When did it start? No, it would have been right in March, so it's not quite a year yet. We're almost there. Just some exciting stuff happening next week. We're gonna have Jill Hoff coming on and joining us from Monogram Coffee fame. She's the world barista champion last year. She's very good at what she does. Comes up with some really cool specialty drinks. She's just a very inspiring individual in the industry. So we're excited to have her on. Sister Speak will be joining us next week as well. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about Chasen, the bamboo whisk. And for those of you who don't know this, these shows are happening every single week. So if you're watching this right now and you want to catch it live, and this is an archive version, live shows are broadcasted every Thursday. We're broadcasting these days to 4 channels. We got our youtube.com/jagasilk, twitch.tv/jagasilk, our Facebook business page, and we just started broadcasting to Instagram stories. So if you're watching this through Instagram, hello. We tried to do this last week, but hopefully it's working this week. We'll be able to find out after it's all said and done. Anyhow, really happy to have you watching. So as I usually do for these sessions, I'm going to try a tea I haven't had before. This is a 2013 Duo Yizai. Oh, my terrible pronunciation. It's a pu'er. It's a raw pu'er. So should be not that good because it's too young. So I'm interested though, because I was told that this isn't going to be too young. So some people think that to qualify as a pu'er, it needs to be in a puck form. That's not necessarily true. So it's in this black tea, like true black tea genre, different from what we call black teas in North America, which are called red teas or crimson teas at origin. So if you take a look at those leaves, they're loose, they're not in a puck. So to be from this region of southern Nanuo and Yunnan province, and to be produced using the techniques for creating your what we call dark teas, and if you're in the right region and you've done the right technique and you got the right bacteria and you got the right ferment in place, then you're going to be creating a fermented tea, and you're allowed to call it pu'er. So pu'er is to tea what sparkling wine is to what champagne is to sparkling wine. So your pu'ers are a particular geographic denotation. You can't call something a pu'er if it's not from this particular region made in this style. If it's from a different region and made in the same style, then in North America we would call it a dark tea. Generally separated into raw and ripe, or sheng and shou pu'er. You kind of have this idea of forced fermentation or kind of a longer fermentation. So this style normally takes a lot longer to get it to a place where it's super interesting and delicious. So anyhow, I'm going to brew some up. I weighed out 4 grams. Going to put it into my little tiny teapot I got here from, if you're watching the episode a couple weeks back with Daniel of the Chinese Tea Shop. He hooked me up with a really beautiful Yixing teapot, fairly coarse clay. Ends up tasting pretty darn good. So I'm gonna give these leaves a rinse. So I'm gonna wet those leaves, and I'm gonna toss out that first bit. There seemed to be a lot of really young leaf content, which was interesting. Wasn't really expecting that. Look more like a white tea. So I'm curious if this Duo Yizai is actually turning white tea into a pu'er style. That would be really unique. Smells a little bit like honey, and quite sweet smelling. Very interesting. So I'm gonna this teapot filled to the brim holds 90 grams of water. I've tested that a bunch of times, so I'm just going to fill it right up. And then Daniel was talking about just scraping these bubbles that appear off the top. I don't know what that does, but I'm just going to follow suit. Then you put your lid on, a little bit falls out the spout, and then you throw some hot water on top of the pot. And as soon as it evaporates, you're kind of ready to rock and roll. This whole process takes about 15 to 20 seconds. So if I was going to try and make this tea in a glass teapot or something else, if I wanted time, I would do 3 grams. I would do 4 grams of tea, 90 grams of water at boiling. I'd do a rinse, and then I would put 90 grams of mass water on top and brew for about 15 seconds. I don't necessarily preheat my decanter nor my teacup. I kind of do this tea by tea. So if this was a green tea where I was like, say something from Japan, where I want to drop that temperature down closer to 70 degrees centigrade, I'm more apt to preheat my decanter because I want it to be nearer that 60 or 70 degrees optimal drinking temperature for most teas. When I'm using boiling water for the extraction, on the other hand, it seems to make more sense to keep everything room temperature, so that when I go to drink it in the beginning, it's cooled down from 100 in the pot, 90, 80. I'm closer to a more pleasant drinking temperature. Yeah, and that's really a lot less harsh than I thought it would be. Fairly acidic. It hasn't had the years of fermentation to sort of temper that tannin down. I find I like to compare these aged teas to a nice aged wine. When you have a red wine, it's too young. There's a little bit too much acid, but letting it age for a while really helps to mellow it out. You see that with your pu'ers as well. Now, another thing that I noticed is that you especially with wine anyways, you can age it too far. I've never actually had a pu'er cake where I have felt like, oh, this is aged too much. So I don't know I'm sure it's possible. I've just never tasted anything where I was like, wow, that. But to be fair, I'm not a specialist, so I haven't followed a cake through like decades of progress and seen that curve happen where there's a pleasantness that develops and disappears or dissipates. Good question for Daniel. Or Eric, actually. Pedro. Everybody but me. Yeah, that's really nice. So yeah, it's tasting more like a white tea to me. I'm really enjoying the fragrance on it. I feel like I could probably get away with some pretty short consecutive infusions. I'm tasting a lot of strength of flavor that doesn't need to be curbed through a lower temperature per se, but I can see it lasting down the wrong tube. But another thing you can do is you can definitely give it some time. So you could reduce the dose. I think that's what I would do. If I was going to make this tea again, rather than 4 grams for 3 ounces or 4 grams for 90 mils, I'd probably do 3 grams. So if you're following from any of the various streams and you want to ask me any questions while we're going through today's topic of bamboo whisks, once Sister Speak joins us, please, don't hesitate to chime in with your questions, etc. in the chat. I will be watching it as we go through our session today. So, yeah, let's make it a good session. So, we're going to be having Sister Speak join us a little bit sooner than normal was the plan. Let's see if that still can happen. Just sending her another invite, and then I would really love to get into this session with you. But in the meantime, while I'm waiting, I'll brew another steep. Wouldn't want that to be lost in one go. So I have this fellow kettle, and it's nice when I can get that temperature right where I want it, but it's sometimes the hold option to keep it on or off for that desired temperature seems to not always be where I need it to be. Come on, heat up. Get me my hot temperature. You know that you want to. There we go. That's like a heating up that's happening now. where was I? So yeah, we're gonna try second steep of this. We're gonna be talking about bamboo whisks. One of the plans for today is I want to show you some of the photos, some of the video that we took when we went to Nara last year. No, 2 years ago. So last year. Hey, what a pause. What a change. Yeah, we normally fly to Japan 2 or 3 times a year to visit the farmers and the craftspeople and the machinists, etc., that we work with. And last year was definitely the exception to that rule. We didn't go anywhere, not even locally. You know, it was a kind of or not kind of. It was a very important requirement that we all stay home. So we did our best, but man, it's very nostalgic now. The desire to go to Japan is very real. I think that these sessions, even after the coronavirus pandemic sort of settles down a bit, I plan to continue them, the JagaVision sessions. I also hope to be able to host them even when I'm in Japan, so you'll be able to see me doing these calls or these sessions live from Japan. Go get that. With a little bit of hot water on top. There we are. Okay. Love how that looks. It's kind of interesting to see the evaporation happen. I don't know if you can see it, but there's like a little bit of, like, it's wet and it's slowly disappearing, and then it's ready. Exciting times. One thing that we've considered here at the tea bar is we always make the tea for our customers. We don't want them to necessarily feel that we're, not wanting them to make their own tea. But that's the opposite of the case. We want everybody to be comfortable making tea. But when they come to the tea bar, we really want to make them feel like they're being taken care of and that we're doing that process for them. But what was interesting when I visited Camellia sinensis in Montreal is they had this set up at the table, and you could have the barista make you your first steep, and then from there you had a thermos of hot water, and you would go forward making your own infusions. So you could enjoy your little 90 milliliter servings with as many layers and steeps as you felt comfortable doing. So pretty fun. That's really harsh. I really need to drop down the amount of tea that I use. I think there's potential here. I think this is, I can taste this kind of soft honey flavor that's reminding me of a white tea. But I've overstrengthened it. So I'm not sharing this with anybody, so I can do this. Maybe I'm just a softie. Let's see if that makes a difference. Okay. Yeah, that's working. That tastes way better. Yeah, night and day. Night and day. I'm just going to see what's going on with Sister Speak. I was hoping she'd join early today. But it's looking like... Let's see what I can do. Just going to send her a text. Try doing the email. See what happens. Yeah, to give you an idea what we're talking about today, got a number of different whisks here. Get them off. Interesting. You can see a little bit what's going on here. Also some whisks over here. This one's quite interesting. It's a special whisk. Talk about. Give you a sense of... Oh, there's Sister Speak. Amazing. Hello, hello. Sister Speak.
Hello.
Hi. So we have, oh, your camera is all weird. It's sideways, but not. Do you want to try,
Oh,
you have the rotation function in your settings off. So,
oh yeah.
so if you, there should be a little icon. There you go. Hopefully that's, and now try putting the camera sideways again.
Um, this is funny. Sorry.
No worries. Yeah, it happens sometimes. Phones like to automatically go into non-rotation mode. So this is the vertical mode that you're in now. If you turn the camera sideways, and if auto rotates back on, then it should
Okay.
work.
Oh, where did you go? Okay, I figured it out. The auto rotate.
There you go. Perfect. Awesome. Okay, we're on. So I was just explaining to the audience that we were going to be talking about Chasen today.
Yeah.
I was going to be talking about bamboo whisks. I figured that, before we get into it, maybe we could just make a quick matcha, and we could be talking
Sure.
about it. Now, the way I like to work with matcha when I'm going to be hanging out with it for a bit, where I'm not going to be just doing a quick drink, is
Yeah.
I do like to make something called a sipping tea.
Oh.
Have I ever shown you how to make one of those?
I don't think so.
Okay. So what you need is kind of your setup for making a matcha, but also like a cup.
Okay. I'm gonna have to go get that.
Okay. And then
Be
you
right back.
need your kettle at 65, but you can do the usual system
Okay.
of transfers to get it down to the correct temperature.
Mhm.
It's kind of an interesting way to just kind of enjoy some like a longer time with it. So what I like to do is I have this nice little bowl with a lip on it, and it looks kind of like that for the audience. It's got a lip on it. It's really nice for whisking into.
All right.
Okay, so kind of the usual stuff, but what I like to do is I like to weigh out 240 grams of water into my cup first.
Oh, first.
Yeah.
Oh. Do you even whisk it?
Well, I'm not gonna put the tea in it. Yeah, I'm gonna whisk the tea in the bowl, right? So
Right.
so I'm just preparing my water first. Is what I'm doing, which is kind of weird, right?
Oh, you're preparing the water in the bowl first, or wait?
So here it is. I'm going into a cup. I'm gonna put 240 grams of water in a cup.
Okay.
Then when I'm done weighing out the water, then I'm gonna put my bowl on the scale, dry, as usual. And I'm gonna put 2 grams of tea in it through the sieve, as per usual. So this is the only weird part. I start by preparing the water. I put that off to the
Okay.
side. Then I go, okay, I'm ready for the bowl. In your case, you might have to use the bowl as like a cooling down vessel, so I don't want to get too far ahead on you.
I'm just gonna grab one more thing. I'm gonna grab the sieve.
For sure.
Sieve and yeah.
And then I like to do 2 grams of tea.
Oh, the scale.
So I've weighed out my water. I've now weighed out my tea.
Okay.
All right. So now that's. So I always say start with dosing. So we've done the dosing.
Like not dosa. Have you ever had a dosa?
I love dosas. They're great, but not a dosa.
I love them so much.
Okay. So I have my cup of water. I have my
Yes.
tea weighed into my bowl. And what's nice is at this point I actually don't need a scale anymore, because
Oh yeah.
all I'm going to do now is I'm going to portion out about 1/4 of this water, roughly. It doesn't actually matter. I'm going to take this beautiful bamboo whisk that we're going to be talking about,
Okay.
and I'm going to whisk away.
I think I put a little too much matcha in. Dang it.
Oh, 2 grams, 2 grams.
I know. I spilled a little bit extra in there by accident.
Okay, well, if you're going to do it, this is the drink to do it for. Okay,
All right.
and then when I'm done, what's cool is, at this point, I just poured what I've, this kind of 1/4 of water back
Yeah.
onto the liquid. and it's kind of like
Oh,
it's kind of like an Americano. You can
that's kind of. I do this all the time. Did you know that?
there you go. Makes sense. It's just
And I add a little bit of cashew milk to it.
there you go. It's a diluted way of having matcha, and it's definitely kind of a fusion drink. It's nothing you would see enjoyed at Origin, but when I do make it for folks in Japan, they seem to really enjoy it because what it ends up tasting like is it doesn't have the strength of like intensity that a matcha normally would have when you make it, more traditional style.
Yeah.
But it's just a
I also-
nice, gentle way of drinking matcha. It tastes more like a sencha.
Can I share something with you that I've been doing when I'm in a hurry? I make it actually in the bowl and I leave some water aside.
Okay,
And then I add should I just do it?
sure.
I like literally add a dot of cashew milk because I need a little bit of like a tiny bit of cashew milk, just a little.
You like
And
a
then
little bit of fat with it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I just add this right on top, and
Amazing.
then it's still warm.
That's super cool. So,
And it's quite delicious, like honestly.
if you were to
And
take something else though and whisk it in, have you ever done that? Have you ever tried a fork or like a regular whisk or like a
I've used
like
a fork.
yeah,
It was decent. I've done that when I'm traveling. Actually, it was really cute. A friend was
or
like,
a spoon.
"Hey." Yeah, it was like, "I have matcha for you, Jagasilk matcha." I was like, "Are you serious?" It's like the best gift ever to like. You never expect to wake up at a friend's house and they have Jagasilk matcha like in the morning.
Well,
You're like,
hopefully we can all expect it.
And I mean, I was
Joking.
like
I'm just
totally
joking.
expect.
We're like smallest of small.
No, I was expecting it in my heart,
right.
but like I never knew that would come true that quickly.
That's amazing. Awesome. So,
And it was like the best morning, and then we used a fork. Yeah.
that's fun. So, did you like the texture, or do you find that it's is it there an improvement when you use a bamboo whisk?
Oh yeah, with bamboo whisk, good transition. That was good. Yes. The bamboo whisk was definitely makes it to me taste a lot sweeter.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Do you know the science behind that or
Well,
the energy?
see, I would assume that by biting into chunks of matcha, it's going to be a little bit more bitter. So the sieving
Yeah.
is going to make a big difference. But you could sieve and use a fork and maybe be okay, or a spoon or something. But see, what's really interesting about the bamboo whisk or the chasen is you have this this frond on the inside for the gap that appears on the outside.
Yeah.
If you really look at it, like analyze your whisk, take a look at it. You can see that for every gap on the outside, there's a corresponding frond on the inside.
Oh yeah.
Right, which is super interesting. So, when we are looking at, I'm gonna do a present now.
I'm gonna just close this door a little bit. It's got cold. Whew.
Let's hope that's it. Yes, that's it. Okay, cool. So, this is the son of Mr. Kubo. So we visited the Kubos in Nara, and
Yeah.
Masaki Kubo, this guy's father, who's off to the right, you could just see his hand there, he's an artist or an artisan, 25th generation, if you can believe it.
Oh wow.
And if you just think about how long that is in terms of timeline, it's pretty unreal, right?
Yeah. That's who we were talking to Pedro about that last week.
Yeah. It's actually what made me think of, this week, I was like, hey, I really want to talk about whisks
Yeah.
with a little bit more detail. And you'll notice that this is how the process starts, right? Where they're cutting, they actually get wood. Actually, it doesn't actually start here. This is where the cutting process starts. So first of all, they're going to grab these whisks. They're going to actually harvest bamboo for them out of the Takayama Forest. And you can actually see here that this is a very different color than this one, right?
Mhm.
And this is called kurotake, or black bamboo. Black bamboo changes color when it dries. But when you harvest it, it looks green like any bamboo. Most bamboo, when it dries, it turns this color.
Okay.
Okay, and so there's something really aesthetically pleasing about this kind of black bamboo. But this forest is located near Shizuoka, and it's not as famous as the Takayama Forest. The reason the Takayama Forest is so famous is because it apparently produces bamboo of a really ideal density. So
Ah.
you get like a bamboo that's not too strong and isn't too weak. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right? He said it's kind of like, to achieve that, he said they need to have lots of, like, just enough access to resources to grow, but not too much. He says it's like it was funny. The Mr. Kubo was talking about it being like a kid, where you got to spoil them when they're young, but be hard on them when they're older, right? So this is his whole thing, and
With the bamboo.
and this creates good discipline and like a strong human being is what he was saying, and that's true for bamboo as well. As you want, you want them to have like a really, like a childhood that allows for them to be strong when they're older. But if you're too hard on the bamboo, where you don't have enough resources for growing, they become too brittle. And if you're too easy on them, they become too flexible, and they actually end up being too soft, and you can't really use them for much. So it's it's an interesting balance and sort of symbolic thing that he's talking about. So then they harvest the wood, and then they cut it to length, and they've actually sorry, I'm skipping a step. They harvest the bamboo, they boil it, they polish it, and they let it stand and season for a good year before they cut into it. And this is going to remove a lot of the moisture. Really cheap bamboo whisks are made in like massive quantities, and you'll see these little silica gel packs in the cylinder with them, and that's generally a sign they've been sprayed with anti-molding agents or herbicides or pesticides. There's all sorts of issues with, trying to meet the demand of today when it comes to bamboo whisks. But if you season them properly, they're also going to take advantage of that density, that good bamboo. It's like a cabinet maker that knows that they need to season the wood before they go into making their cabinet. Otherwise, it will warp, right?
Well, the other thing is like for firewood, you have to also let your wood stand so that it's not green when you burn firewood.
Well, there you go. That's like a ideal first stage, right? So here's the father and son cutting a chasen for us. This whisk, actually on my right here, this was cut literally in front of our eyes.
Wow. Looks perfect.
It's pretty amazing.
Mine's gotten a little bit beat up in travel.
Fair.
But it's still in pretty good shape.
Sweet.
It still whisks wonderfully.
Can you see this imagery okay?
No, I can't. Where do I find it?
It's on the meet call. You got to click on there's a presentation happening.
Oh yeah, so cool. I can see it now.
Yeah, so here's the father and son, and then here's the whisks. He's basically showing us the stages of cutting. So
whoa.
So there's the bamboo when it's in its like full length, and then you have it cut to length, and then he's going to do these initial cuts that he's going to show us right here.
What do they cut it with?
So there's this his knife there. He's slicing away.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whoa, it takes 6 hours to make one?
Yeah. And then here he is. He's this kind of freaked me out. Is he's cutting them, and when he's using his knife, we were like, "Aren't you gonna cut your hands? Like, how can you not?"
Whoa.
Right? And he's quartering them, and then he's eighthing them, and this process is just so interesting. Isn't that crazy?
Whoa, that's how they do it?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So he's gonna cut it down, and then once he's like sliced it and made this sort of rough, he's then gonna snap them back so that he keeps the skin on the outside, but he's snapping the inner core, and he's able to do this through practice. Just break it at the end point that he's figured out with his, and he brings it out like this, which is just amazing. And then what he does is he actually goes in and he removes the inner core and separates it from the outer skin. So there he is. He's just slicing between the skin and the core.
So as long as you don't pull on the knife as it hits the skin, it won't cut. So
That's me
you
talking.
push directly on. And then it's
So is this where is this exactly?
This is in Nara when we visited in 2019. This is when we went with the crew. So we had some Jaga alumni and some Jaga crew with us.
put a cut.
And here he is. He's just he's basically doing a really he's going in and he's actually breaking out, or sort of separating it. So he cut it, and now he's actually pulling the core apart from the skin. You see?
Yeah.
This is like, there's so many opportunities here for the frond to just break right off, or the skin to peel off completely in a weird way.
Yeah.
He says it's one of the few vegetables out there that essentially like vegetation out there that where the fiber runs up and down rather than side to side.
Oh.
Yeah, which is kind of interesting, hey?
Mhm.
And then here he's actually, if it would load properly, he's actually going to tear out that inner part, break it right out. It's pretty rough. Hey, like.
I'm so curious how he does it.
I know, just snapping, bam.
Whoa.
So he used the knife to separate the skin from the inner core, and then he broke it apart even further with his fingers, and now he's going in and he's actually tearing out the inner core. So if you look in your Chasen from the top down, you'll actually see that it's actually skin that you're looking at, and that inside of the core that's kind of being hidden by the inside of the whisk, there's you can see the where the inner fronds have been snapped off.
Oh yeah. Well, it looks kind of like cork in the inside.
Right? And that's the result of this tear.
Oh, it almost looks like porous.
Yeah, totally.
Bamboo, you're so beautiful.
And it's such a, like, again, he's made thousands upon thousands, and he's a certified living treasure. So the Ministry of Industry and Commerce in Japan actually certifies him as a living treasure for Japan for passing on this technique. And he's one of only, there's only 13 certified living treasures in Japan that are certified for this technique.
Do you get most of your whisks from him?
All of them, yeah.
Wow.
So the sheen is the ones where he's done all of the important parts. And then we have a signature whisk that's quite a lot more expensive, and he does the whole process from start to finish. And then there's the apprentice chasen, where his apprentices have worked on it. And generally the wood is a little bit flawed, like in terms of appearance, but in terms of strength, it's totally fine. There might be some blots on it or something like that.
Oh.
But the
What does that
ones generally don't last near as long as the ones where he's done the important part.
Interesting.
Right?
So how much are the apprentice ones, Jagas?
We sell them for $80.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I mean, and then you have like, what's the most expensive whisk that you sell?
$300. And it's made with
That makes sense.
bamboo that's over that's over 100 years old, that's been smoked in the rafters of old Japanese houses, and then they and here's his son explaining things a bit, going through. So what they did here is once they get to this part where they've like torn out the insides, they actually soak the fronds in water to get them more supple to go to the next stage, which the son is going to take over. So at this point, what he's doing is he's so they've all been, he's cut them. I feel like we missed an important video here. Maybe here. Yeah, this is crazy. So what he's doing is he's slicing the tips. He's doing one big cut, one small cut, one big cut, one small cut, one big cut, one small cut. And then what he does at this point is he actually peels that thick frond there with his fingertips, and he peels it down. Look at that.
Oh, wow.
One big one small one, one big one small one. And what happens is that the big ones stay on the outside, and the middle ones he's actually gonna use a piece of thread, and he's gonna tie them into the inside. And tie the big ones onto the outside. But I just can't believe he's peeling that down so perfectly.
Wow.
Like, you just expect that to that just blows my mind.
Wow. And he's just how so you were saying it takes about 6 hours to make one?
Yeah. Well, a lot of that has to do with there's like a soaking stage as well. So like all the work apparently is like more like 3 or 4 hours, I guess, of actual like hands-on labor.
Wow. Dang.
And here's his son. What he's doing is he's showing how they get the curve. So it's like a florist ribbon. They actually go in with a sharp edge of a bladed knife, and then they coax a curl. And there's quite a technique in this. If you don't do this process carefully, obviously you're gonna have warped, kind of like wonky fronds when you wet them and use them.
Yeah.
But if you want good circumference or circularness, then yeah, you just gotta. So he's saying.
So first you start making the curl by going soft, and then you go harder and harder.
He says it gets as it dries, it gets harder and harder.
Ah, I see. So it's easier when it's wet. Makes sense.
Yeah, right. And then
look at that place. It looks so peaceful. Like
it's amazing. Yeah, it's like an old Japanese house, and they got this beautiful garden out there. This isn't where they work. This is their show place for when the visitors come. It's kind of like their presentation room.
Oh, nice.
But next time we go, we're gonna they allow you to participate in cutting a whisk with them, and they can guide you through a process of it. And I'm super excited to do that next time. So
2022.
2022. Yeah, I have to do a Sister Speak and Truth and Dolphin music tour and go and combine it with tea garden visits and go and.
I'm definitely down.
Cut bamboo.
The windows, there's so much light and so much green. Is it a pretty green country overall?
Japan is 75% vegetation and mountains. Yeah, it's really, really green. It's all of the video and stuff you see is mostly near sorry.
That's okay.
Near train stations where things get a little bit more urban, and that's most of what you see.
Yeah.
So I think that's it. Mew just kind of checking out a whisk that was handed over to her. Just see how delicate they are up close. Look at that, eh?
Yeah.
And there he is, just working on it, getting that nice curl. They spend a lot of time here in the shaping process.
Wow.
And then once they've done that, then at this point, he goes in and this blows my mind too, is that he's actually slicing. If you look down at the bottom where the fronds kind of connect to the thread, he's gone in with his knife and he's actually rounded out those corners so that the matcha is less prone to stick or to build up sediment in where it joins to the base of the bamboo whisk. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
So that's quite a
Whoa.
So that's.
This looks like a magic.
I know. The amount of technique and technical sort of know-how that goes into these is just mind-blowing. And then he pulls it out even further. He seizes that one out. You think it's just going to snap right off, right?
Yeah.
And then every second one he pulls out, and he has to sort it with his, just such delicate work, eh?
It's like symmetrically, like so amazing too. Like.
Yeah.
It's like crazy that the fibers grow like that. You could even do that symmetrically.
Right. So here he is. What he's trying to do now is he's pulling them out every second one, and then he. I wonder if he does it here. Does he go in with the thread? Just find it so interesting when he does. Yeah.
Put in the thread.
He's just explaining about how you pull it apart so that you can then thread the string.
Wow.
See?
Yeah.
I wanted to get some video of them actually threading it, but he said his wife's really good at it, but he's not. Just kind of he can do it because he has to be able to do it as a living treasure to show people, but he says that doesn't mean that he does it a lot. And if he doesn't do it a lot, he's not going to be good at it, and that's just the reality of the situation. So.
What kind of thread is that on the bottom? Looks like it's like fully threaded in.
Yeah, it's just like I don't know the material, but it's quite thin, and it's needle and thread basically all the way through.
My gosh.
And multiple layers. If you look at your whisk up front or up close, you can see that this is at least like 6 layers of thread.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they've been doing it this way. So he also says that the rounding of the Chasen is very much just an aesthetic thing, and it actually isn't for strength. And so that's why our Shin Chasen, they're not rounded at the tips because we want them to have more longevity.
Yeah, mine's not as rounded.
So this is an ideal shape for, it has a nice aesthetic, and it's going to be nice how it interacts with the bowl. He doesn't think that there's a positive relationship between a rounded Chasen and a round bowl. He thinks it's just aesthetics, and that not curling it would actually make for a stronger whisk. I believe that's what he said. Mia's probably going to correct me later. So, but yeah, that's examples of different ones. So that one in the left there is more closer to what we're getting. The one in the middle there is actually the design of Sen no Rikyu. And Sen no Rikyu is the fellow who's credited in the 1500s for establishing the rules of the tea ceremony and kind of reinvigorating it and making it the kind of cool thing to do socially for the samurai, to hang out and have tea, and made it a part of the sort of the tapestry of Japanese culture we know today. So his name's Sen no Rikyu. So just so interesting, the different styles of Chasen that are possible, hey?
Yeah, mine's kind of like I'm in the middle. Is it because I use it so much? Mine's not quite that rounded, but it's not straight.
Yeah, when it comes, when you first get it, it's going to definitely be, if you, I should probably go on our webpage. You can actually go on jagasilk.com and you could look at it. And you could look up Shin Chasen, and you could see what it's supposed to look like.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it's more like the one on the left there. That's closer to what it would have looked like when you got it.
Yeah.
If you see the way that there's that brown and then non-brown, that's actually the aesthetics of our $300 whisk. That's the bamboo that's over 100 years old. It's been smoked, right? Yeah, smoked in the rafters of traditional Japanese houses for over 100 years. And then it's been purposed.
So there's rafters were a really helpful thing in houses, right?
Of course, yeah.
Do we have rafters anymore?
Of course. Yeah.
Where are they?
Where are rafters? Rafters are
in current houses. Is that your attic?
You see them in barns and stuff. It helps with the maintenance. I actually am kind of speaking out of a guess here. Why do we have rafters? That's something we'd have to look into. I'm not a builder. I do know that we have ceilings, and above ceilings are the rafters below the roof. I think it's what holds the roof up, but I could be wrong.
Oh, right. So it's kind of like an attic, right?
Well, it's just the skeleton of the roof.
Oh, so they smoke it in there.
But in the past, they wouldn't have that false ceiling. There wouldn't be a ceiling above them. It would just go right to the roof. There wouldn't be a flat top. You'd just see right to the roof. And then what's holding the walls and everything together is that skeleton. And then they would be cooking on a cook fire in their kitchen, and their kitchen would basically be the living room as well in these older houses. And then the smoke from cooking would just go up into into that area of the house, up into what we would turn into an attic these days.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't have that intermediary floor in the old days.
Right.
So that's just some of the different styles of whisks all side by side.
Oh, nice.
Pretty cool, eh?
I think about rafters, I think of stadiums.
Right. Yeah, no, makes sense. Yeah, but this is, I guess, a different style.
Of rafter.
Rafter.
That's so cool.
Yeah, just so many different ones. He brought them all out of his box there. And then... So that's the Chasen. and we were explaining about just like, so this one here is kind of interesting. It's thicker fronds. It's like the one he made in front of us. This is the one that he was cutting. He gifted it to us when he left. When we left. So it was pretty special. This is our second visit to him. He's a lot thinner now, but he was he was less that way before, and I think he's hopefully he gets better soon. This is the Sennorikyu whisk, and this is the bamboo in their full pieces. You can see he has some examples of the regular bamboo.
日本で言いますと、最初にもう少し太いタケノコで食べるものが出てきまして、次にこのハチクイタケが出てきます。ハチクイってどういう感じですか？感じ。淡路島の淡い。
So he's talking about different styles of bamboo and thicknesses and stuff, and how like old school bamboo would have been a little bit thicker. Like they would have harvested.
低いんですよ。普通そこらにマダケって言うんですよね。グリーンの鮮やかなマダケって言うんですけど、それはもっとこう節が高い。で案外とそのマダケっていうのは繊維が太いんですよ。若干。
And he's just saying like the density, like the fibers are too thick. And if you choose the wrong bamboo, so choosing bamboo where the fibers are denser and closer knit makes for a higher quality piece of bamboo. So pretty.
Hey, how's the water in Japan? Like the tap water overall, or in that region?
You do see you do see different like tap water in general in cities. I've had some pretty bad stuff, and then depending really on the region, people get really into their water. So you know,
I would imagine it would affect the whisk, the water.
For sure, the type of water, hey? Really interesting, hey? That's black bamboo. That's the stuff that discolors after it dries. He says this is not the best density. I have some kurotake, black bamboo, but it's not ideal. It just looks beautiful. But the fibers aren't as closely knitted as this one that he has that he was just touching with his right hand. Yeah. He says the bamboo behind his house, for example, isn't good because it's too close to water source, and so it's spoiled, and so it's too soft, and it's not disciplined enough.
Ah.
Interesting.
Because it's spoiled. It's babied.
It's babied. That's right. So, yeah, it's.
Do you think...
Oh, hold on. For some reason, I'm hearing myself.
This is so fascinating. It's making me want to go to Japan so much.
No doubt, eh? Yeah.
So beautiful, right? And the windows and the houses style and the. I can't believe that. Like, is there anybody in North America that makes Chasen?
Not
like
that I'm aware of. I know that they make them in China. I've never found good Chasen out of China. I don't think it's impossible, but I just haven't been able to source any from the country. Just like matcha, I've never found good matcha from China. I've found some amazing tea. Some of my favorite teas in the whole world are from some of my favorite teas in the world are from China.
Have you been to China?
No, we were really close once, but through a technical challenge at the Chinese consulate, I was able to go, which was really sad. This was before the Michaels, so yeah. Hopefully, post Michaels, we'll be able to go. That's the hope.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Steve says, "How do you find people in whiskey business?" And we have Lorianne saying that this is very intricate and commenting on it, so that's fun. We're really. Yeah, it was really fascinating to visit Mr. Kubo and really sit there and have this process, see it right in front of our eyes, and understand the bamboo whisk a little bit more deeply. I was I've learned that since then, like, we've tried to do some tests, like to understand what this whole like process. Okay, so you're crafting chasen. So what makes somebody good at their work, right? And over time, we've really learned, like, the more you use, like, a good chasen, the more you realize also that not every single chasen you ever get will be perfect, even from an amazing chasen artisan, because they won't know. And he said this, the problem with this line of work is you don't know if it's going to be a good whisk until after you use it. So they actually have to get it to the point where they think, from their experience, it's going to be pretty good, but they just don't know.
Yeah.
And then those that are just not good at guessing or not good at their technique, will let out into the world chasen that are less. So you could whisk and it's okay for a little bit, but it starts to get really brittle and break really fast. So good maintenance involves wetting your chasen before using it. So don't just like go right into.
Before using it.
Yeah, put some hot water to the side, get it a little bit wet before you start whisking with it. And
I always put really hot water on it at the end.
we'll do
afterwards.
Yeah, do it before. Have like a little cup to the side and just like kind of let it hang out in there and get it nice and soft. For cafes, we always suggest that they do like 10 minutes in the morning and 10 minutes at night. But if you're just making it at home, whisking it, even like putting some hot water in the bowl first, and then gently whisking it in the hot water, and then dumping out the water, and then going into making your matcha is a perfectly reasonable way of going about it. That's what they do in tea ceremony. They always soften it a bit beforehand by, and it's also a good way to sort of rinse off any sediment that may have built up, and it makes for a cleaner experience, right? So, and it is naturally antimicrobial. As long as the wood is dry, you're not dealing with a lot of like issues around challenging bacteria that might make you ill or what have you. I've yet to hear of or read of anybody who's gotten sick from a compromised chasen. And then the other thing is we put the date on the bottom. I write it on the very bottom ridge, and that lets me track how long the chasens last me for. And then I can see how many servings it's been able to produce, etc. And generally speaking, the sheen are between 2,000 and 3,000 servings. And then our apprentice chasen are sitting around 1,000 servings. And then this is just generally speaking, right? And then some whisks that when I just buy a random whisk, oftentimes it's only maybe like 200 or 300 servings. So the amount of servings is so much less. You just go through it so much faster. And so I used to have these whisks that were $20 and made in China. And I thought they were made in Japan because they were sold to me that way. But through an expose on it in Japan, I found out that these whisks were being sold to me really through false, like it was false. They were actually made in China and being sold as made in Japan. So that was really sad. Yeah, and again, I have nothing against Chinese craftsmanship or teas. Some of the best and worst teas I've ever had in my life are from China. But I haven't seen good chasen. And also, when I'm working with tools like ceramics, etc., I put a lot of effort into making sure that the glazes don't leach heavy metals into the tea, and in this case I want to be sure that the wood is clean. So I know that Mr. Kubo doesn't source bamboo that's been sprayed. It's actually very, we asked him straight up, but it's also very obvious from his careful selection process. Like he needs it to be a particular way. And if why do you to herbicides and pesticides? It would just be to prevent other weeds from destroying your agricultural product. Whereas for him, it's about controlling the environment or sourcing wood from an environment that naturally already produces an ideal fiber density. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I really was thinking it would not be a bad idea to call this whole episode Whiskey Business.
Yeah, no, that's good. I think we can totally do that. We can let's
Compliments of Steve.
Yeah, maybe we can let's change the I can do this. So
Oh really?
oh yeah.
I just think that's so brilliant.
Whiskey business.
I've never hung out with my whisk this much, and I gotta be honest, like it has such a nice aroma.
Right.
It's like it almost smells like a forest. Like
okay.
It's really, really nice.
I just changed the name of the episode. Whiskey business by Sherri. So yeah, it's I spelled it with an E. I think that's like the alcohol. Maybe I need to drop the E.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe
Anyway,
you can go Whisk-Y.
that. Oh, I like it. Yeah.
And then you could have Chasen in there too. Like,
Yeah. No, I kept Chasen. I felt that was
oh,
important.
nice.
Yeah.
That's great. Whiskey business.
So where was I? I was just saying that it's about strength of the wood. It's about keeping it clean. It's about seasoning it. There's so much to it. And then you get to this place where you need to cut into it, and that point, 25 generations of experience in the family really helps to produce a product that's gonna blow your mind. And Steve's wondering about prices. So the range of prices, you could go to dollar store. There's a Japanese dollar store in Vancouver, and you could be paying like $5 for your whisk, or you could go to Chinatown. You could be paying $20, $25, and get a whisk that you may be happy with. I know that for me as a vendor, it was really helpful to be able to have a introductory whisk that was in the $20 range.
How do you know haven't been sprayed though?
Well, that's just it. And so since I don't, and I can't find whisks with that kind of proof, other than the ones I'm getting, for me, it starts at the apprentice Chasen. And for JagaSilk whisks, you're looking at $50 for an entry-level whisk, and you're looking at $80 for the sheen. I think it's worth the extra $30. It's like night and day, and the amount of extra servings you get, there's a very practical value, but sometimes you don't want to spend close to $100 on a whisk, and it helps to kind of get used to it. I kind of think of it like a beginner's violin, like it's the one that you can practice with and kind of understand it a little bit, and then you can make the leap into something more expensive. The $300 Chasen is more of an aesthetic. It's more like, okay, I have this 100-year-old bamboo. That's just so cool. It's not really a strength thing at that time, because honestly, the wood is going to be stronger on the $80 whisk than it will be on the $300 whisk. So that's not a practical purchase. That's an artistic purchase. That's one going, holy crap, 100 years, wow, smoked, wow, and just kind of rolling with that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, and also the energy behind that type of whisk
Right?
could be
Yeah.
extraordinary, like the spiritual experience or something,
It's pretty amazing. Like when you whisk with it, you feel it. You feel this ancientness, right? So yeah, pretty cool.
So there's probably a health benefit there that we can't measure with our empirical science.
Exactly.
Because we don't have the tools to measure it with.
Yeah, and again, they last around like 3,000 servings for the Shin Chasen, and closer to 1,000 servings for the apprentice Chasen. That's from our tests. But again, that's whisk to whisk is going to change a little bit because of your own storage and technique. That's going to be the kind of the major contributing factor, but also that particular whisk's particular fiber density is also going to play a role, if that makes sense.
Yeah, the particular whisk's particulates.
Yes, that's right. The particular is particulates. So if you want a whisk to last a while, though, the things you do, again, whisk it in hot water before you go to use it. When you're whisking, in tea ceremony, they end up suggesting you do a no, like the character that's kind of like an outward-inward spiral. But in JagaSilk technique, we encourage you not to draw any circles. And the reason for that is if you draw circles too aggressively, and then you go and you let it dry, the fronds will dry bent sideways, and then they're much more prone to snap off. And then like actually my whisk was lasting me quite well. I've been using it since November and had no breakages. And then last week I wasn't having good luck with it, and I lost. Look at how many I lost there. Can you see that? Okay, like.
Oh yeah, I lost a bunch too. I lost and some of them are halfers, but this is like traveling for like years now.
Yeah, so you might want to, we can totally. So how long do they last? Well, I have this one here that's like super short, and I just snipped off the ends and I turned it into my chocolate whisk. Some people use it, so I mix chocolate with this now, and you can also you can use it for traditionally people would use it for cleaning, as a cleaning implement, for scraping out pots and stuff. And if you really want to say goodbye to the whisk in a spiritual level on the thank yous, you can burn it at New Year's, etc. So
wow.
Yeah, so it can last quite a long time. It's more of a you know, if I was doing tea ceremony and I wanted to have the aesthetics in order, I probably, this whisk is borderline ready to kind of move away from, just because of how severe those particular breaks are. For me, they don't normally break like that. That was me being bad, so I just need to be more careful.
Yeah, I was really careless. I didn't even have like anything to put it in. It was like in a box, like flying around. Like I felt so bad. I was like on tour.
Yeah,
But
some people put their chasen on their chasen naoshi like this, and that's really bad too, because that's gonna make it like bend in. When you're putting it on your chasen naoshi, make sure it's always inside, and you want to use both hands.
Show us again. Sorry.
So you have your chasen naoshi, the chasen holder. You put the middle part into the middle and the outside into the outside, and you give it a little twirl as you put it on. And these are wooden ones that we get made by local wood artisans. But normally,
can I purchase one?
You need, yeah, of course. And normally you need blue. They sell these blue or green ceramic ones. Those are more common. They work the same way.
Yeah, I broke my ceramic one.
There you go. That's the problem. This is a cocktail whisk that Kubo makes, and he uses this for kind of for he thought for bars and stuff to have a little bit more flexibility with space, etc. They cost the same as the Sheen, and they're much more delicate, so I don't really bring them in. And then
yeah. Oh, sorry.
That's a black bamboo one again. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, wow. No. My mind is just flying in all these different places. I can hold on to the thought for a second. These whisks are just so cool. Can you? Sorry. So the one on the left, or your right.
That's the one that was cut in front of us. That's a Shinkazuho. It's just thicker fronds. It's meant more for koicha or thick tea. It's like matcha. That's the texture of thick paint. And then this cocktail whisk is meant for bars. It's more of a fusion whisk. It's a new thing. It's more delicate, but the same price as these guys. So I don't really bring them in. These two, between them, this one looks really rad. It's black bamboo from a different forest. It when it dries, it models like this, and it kind of looks like a smoked bamboo whisk, even though it's not. And
wow.
Yeah, and then the one on this end one here is kind of the ideal. This is the strongest bamboo, the very like the Shin Chasen. This is the one that I sell to all my cafe wholesale clients, because it just it makes no sense for a cafe to be buying an apprentice Chasen when you think about longevity.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And the cost per day of use kind of thing.
Oh, nice. I just had, my mind's just, like I said, flying in all these places, and one of the things that I can't help but keep replaying in my mind is the idea of a comic book and like a whole series on Chasens, and then the main characters' names could be like prawns and like
so random. But yes,
I know.
that's possible. This is what happens when you have a sipping tea at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, you know? Yeah, totally. I don't know where to go with that, but
well, I'm not sipping. I'm sipping, but I'm not tripping.
There you go. That's where you can go with that. You're sipping, but you're not tripping. But you might.
I mean, it's just you have a comic book from before.
You might be flipping.
You might be flipping.
Or
but you had these
quipping.
really funny. Wait, I cut you off. I'm sorry. What'd you say?
Or quipping.
All right.
Yeah. Okay, keep going.
Oh, well, I think that you had some really funny comics going for a while there, Jaga.
With Trevor Burnett. I should get him on the show, too. We can talk comics. He's been really helpful for sort of his graphic art, his comic book art for the back of our business cards, for showing you how to make a traditional matcha at home using a comic system. Cool. But anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about today, was the Chasen. Did you have any sort of like questions about the Chasen before we end the show today? Maybe I can answer anything you have going on.
I guess as a touring artist, what would you recommend for traveling with it? Like the full getup. Like I have the little box that I put it in.
Yeah.
But it's sometimes pretty bulky, so I don't always take it to Europe with me, and I end up just like I don't drink as much matcha in Europe because I don't want to break it.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of the same way, which is unfortunate. We have one of our old staff members made us kind of traveling cases for our Chasen, and I think that it's useful to probably have that as a product. For my sales kit, when I'm going to Vancouver, etc., I end up just taking some paper towel and then I take my chasen on the stand and I kind of wrap it like this.
Ah, okay,
Right.
that would work.
And then it actually fits nicely in a 500 milliliter jar.
Nice.
And then I wrap this in like clothing, and that's how I travel when I'm going to Japan. And it's kind of compact, and it helps to have a jar anyway for the whole process, you know?
Yeah, I somehow I had this box from I don't know what. Oh, from you guys.
Okay.
Okay, so what I do is what I've been doing now is I have the box.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna wrap it, but I've been saving little cotton from some
Yeah,
Chinese herbs that I take,
Okay.
and I just put the cotton in the box now.
Right.
But then when I put it back in the box, it's a little too short for the fronds because they've expanded.
Right. Yeah. See,
So
I find that the box is that's meant for apprentice chasen, not for the shin chasen. So you're using a shin chasen, but you have a box for an apprentice chasen. So the apprentice
I must
chasen
have.
is shorter, and it's
Oh.
and that's why the box for the shin chasen is actually custom made to be longer.
Oh, so somehow I ended up probably losing my apprentice Chasen,
But keeping the box.
then-
Yeah.
but keeping the box and then getting this one.
Yes. And then
I think.
also they expand a little bit, and especially on the stand, it would never fit in the box. And so a lot of times our shin chasen are sold in these plastic cylinders, and
Yeah.
if you have a wet chasen and you lid the plastic cylinder, you're just asking for bacteria, right? So
Yeah,
It's not
for
an
sure. I always
ideal-
let it dry.
yeah, but a system like you have there, maybe a little bit of a bigger box would totally work. I think that
Yeah.
the case is made right now for a traveling box for chasen for sure. Something for us to look into. I can imagine a compartment with the chasen stand maybe in the bottom, and then the whisk above, because I don't think they should travel on each other for too long. I would imagine if you wanted to be really, on your game. The way that I'm traveling like this is perhaps not the most ideal way, but that's an option. And glass is heavy, so if you want to change this to something more lightweight, you totally can. But this is
Maybe bamboo.
wouldn't
like
that be
a bamboo
amazing?
cup.
Wouldn't that be amazing? I should ask Kubo-san if he can make a traveling case for the bamboo whisk.
That'd be so cool. I'll be on purchasing that.
Okay.
My other question was how to dry it without the best. I used to dry it like this on my chasen thing, but that's not good, right? Because then it would get it wet. So I started drying it like upright, just like that.
Yes, that's the way to do it. So you would wet it, and then you would shake it out like a paintbrush, and then you would dry it base down. And then you would put
Face
it on
down, or do you mean
like that.
this?
No.
This
Right,
is
yeah.
face up, right?
I said base down, base.
Oh, base down.
So base down, you don't want to put it on its side or not on a stand and upside down. That's not so good.
Yeah.
That being said, the wooden stands, one of the other reasons why we like them is because they absorb moisture off of the whisk and then release it back into the air. So you can dry them. You can dry the whisks on the wooden stand, whereas you can't on the ceramic stands. In our opinion, lots of people do it, and they're just pleased as punch with their chasen results. So each their own. I just get a little squeamish about ceramic, wet wood, and whether or not it's in fact drying properly.
Yeah, you definitely want it to dry properly for the antimicrobial properties to take place in the bamboo.
That's right. So that's where I'm at. I dry like that on this nice little.
Okay. I'm gonna use that paper towel method though for traveling.
It's simple. It's there. If you have a 500 milliliter mason jar, it's gonna fit on the stand, wrapped in the paper towel. It's kind of simple. You can also change it to a cloth if you like, but I like the paper towel. I can replace it, and helps me just. I don't know. I'm good with it. I like it. So anyhow,
Like a lightweight bamboo cylinder would be cool.
totally. I'm gonna try and figure something out for sure. We have one actually we have a picnic set at the shop, and the picnic set actually has a bamboo case for the chasen, which is pretty cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Cool. Well, thank you, Sherri, for coming on the show again. We didn't really talk about Sister Speak at all because you weren't really, saying hello to a guest this week. So for those who are watching that don't know Sherri Ann, just a reminder that she has an amazing music project called Sister Speak. Her live shows are on every Thursday before JagaVision. You can catch her. The best way is by signing up for her Patreon. You go to patreon.com/sisterspeak. You can also look her up, Sister Speak Music. New album that came out recently, that live album, pretty fun.
Yeah.
Right
This
there.
one.
Yeah. And pretty awesome. And then we're also working on, we're doing monthly sessions here in the courtyard again, starting in March. So we'll be having Sister Speak down in the courtyard here at Jaga Silk, performing outside and having a guest musician join her every month. We have confirmed
you.
any of those folks?
Yes, we have. The first one will be David Santana duo and Sister Speak, and then after that, it looks like we're still waiting for confirmation for Truth and Dolphin and Steve Schmiller
Yes, we
for
will.
April 30th.
We'll ask Steve if April 30th is in the cards, as we had this this change of plans due to COVID, etc.
Yeah.
Where we can't really be in there every week like we were hoping to, but that's how it goes. So we're excited.
Final Friday.
We're excited for Final Fridays. That's right. Final Music Fridays. That sounds very final.
Yeah.
Anyhow, next week again, we're going to have Jill Hoff join us from Monogram Coffee fame, with her being the Canadian Barista Champion in 2020. Excited to have her on. We'll be making black sesame matcha lattes together, so that should be exciting. Sherri will have to get you some black sesame. You'll be toasting it up on your stove. It's going to be a very interactive session on
Cool.
Thursday.
I'll move it to the kitchen.
Next week. So excited to have you on again. 1 o'clock is when it starts. We'll probably have you come on at 1:15 if you're game, and we're looking forward to it. But thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you.
All right. You have a wonderful, 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 wonderful day, and we'll see you
too.
again soon.
Peace and love.
Peace and love. Bye. Awesome. So that was Sister Speak joining us here on JagaVision. If you want to tune in next week, Thursday at 1, we're on weekly. You can go to jagasilk.com and you can check out sessions that are coming up. And you can also buy teas if we've let you know far enough in advance so you can drink along. You can also buy some of the teas that we have showcased. Today I was enjoying a really nice Samidori blend by Takaki. A really beautiful blend of Samidori and Goko and Yabukita Okumidori, Sayamidori, 5 different cultivars. Really lovely. We love his farm. Does a great job down in Fukuoka. Next week, I'll probably be using the Okumidori by Yamaguchi, a farmer that we work with over in Wazuka in Kyoto province, and we'll be using that matcha to work on a black sesame matcha latte. So get yourself some black sesame, some milk that you can steam, or a jar that you can shake the milk in before you cook it on a stove to give it some texture. And then we're gonna need a blender if you're gonna join us, and we'll have a lot of fun. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, please go there and do that. We're on youtube.com. On the bottom of the screen here, there should be an opportunity to click subscribe. You can sign up for notifications, and then when we go live, you'll get an email letting you know, reminding you to tune in if you so choose. Streaming today to YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, and Facebook. So huge appreciation to everybody out there who's been watching. We'll see you again next week. Same Jaga time, same Jaga channel. Peace be with you.